Hey, Tamika. Hey, I know you, Angel. Oh my goodness. Are we all on mute right now?
No, well, they're muted.
Hi, thank you for being here. Yeah, if you'll go ahead, we're gonna let Danita introduce you guys and mute yourself until you talk, and we want you to just have as much chance as you can to say what you want to say.
So is everyone from Richardson ISD? Let me ask that.
No, I'm from Garland ISD.
Okay. Angel, where are you from?
I'm in Georgia,
Georgia.
Savannah.
I am Richardson ISD.
Okay. Okay, we are live. We're live, right? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live. And tonight we're talking to our African American Black teachers that serve in our communities. We have teachers here with us from Richardson, Garland ISD, and as far as Savannah, Georgia. She's representing. So they're gonna quickly introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their background and how they got into teaching, and then we'll get right into their experiences as teaching. In no particular order, I'm gonna start with Michelle Nicole. If you'll go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay. Hello, my name is Michelle Nicole Burks. I've been with Richardson for 8 years. I'm actually a teacher's assistant. I worked at Forest Lane, North Lake, worked at, and also currently I'm at Thurgood Marshall. I work with special needs children as well as pre-K and first through fifth grade. So this will be going on my 9th year with the district. I also have a graduate that graduated from Lake Highlands High School. So that's me.
All right. Ms. Westland, my Savannah, Georgia boo.
Hi, Mary Westland. I'm actually a product of Richardson ISD. I graduated from Richardson High School. I got a position at Stokes Road Elementary. I was there for 11 years with Tamika Bryant. I taught kindergarten, first grade, and I left last year teaching third grade. I taught in Alaska for about 6 months. And now I'm here in Savannah, Georgia, trying to see what it's about. And I'm going to be doing special education here.
Awesome. Oh, so seems like we have 2 Tamika Bryant. All right. Okay. So we're going to go with Miss Tamika Bryant that has, it's in my, I don't know what the bottom of your shirt say. It's my DNA.
Okay, hi, my name is Tamika Bryant. I've been at Richardson ISD for 10 years, all at Stoltz Road Elementary. This is where I first got started. This is all I know as far as teaching is just RISD. It is Stoltz. I taught 5th grade, my first year, 5th grade math, and then I was bumped up to 6th grade. And then in 6th grade, I teach science and social studies. So rolling into this 11th year with COVID, I don't know what this is about to look like, but we shall see.
Awesome. Okay. Now we have Miss Lee.
Hey guys, I'm from Garland ISD. I'm going into my 18th year. Y'all, I'm old. Oh yes. I was at Spring Creek Elementary for 15, 16 years. And then I went over to Garland ISD. We picked up the actual ACE program. So it's a 3-year pilot program. And I'm over at Hanley. It's actually Ida Hanley Elementary right now. I've done 3rd grade, I've done 4th grade, and now I'm back down to 3rd grade, which is definitely my forte. So yeah, I love what I do, math and science.
All right. And now we have our second, Tamika Bryant.
I am not sure why my screen says Tamika Bryant. I just kind of logged in. My name is Nikadria Johnson.
Okay.
This is my 18th year of teaching. I've taught K through 3 in Stoltz Road with Mary, and so I've kind of taught in multiple districts around the Dallas area. So I'm not sure why my name says Tamika, but Nikadria. So.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So in no particular order, you can, unmute yourselves and go. But of course, this is the Lake Highlands Area Moms Against Racism group. And this is our Transformational Education Week. And as teachers of color in the school system, as it relates to your coworkers, your counterparts that are not like you, your white counterparts that are not like you, how are you received as teachers in the classroom? How are you received? And when I say how are you received, do you get the same selection process as they do, per se? Do you get the same developments that they get? Are you hindered by your, if you want to, release that, are you hindered by your administrations, you believe? And are you held at a higher standard than your counterpart? So it's in my, okay, Ms. Lee, go ahead. She's nodding, she's ready.
Well, I'm just listening. I mean, it's an excellent question. I will say when I was at Spring Creek Elementary, my principal was actually a white principal. Loved her to death. We had our few setbacks, but once that setback was set into place, it's like I could never recover from that. And I was always having to be a step higher, or I was always having to achieve more or to prove myself more. And she very much made it known. But I will say, coming over to this Handley ACE, all of my administrators are of color. So it is definitely where it's relatable. All the teachers, the majority, actually the white students are the minority at my school. So it's mainly Hispanic and Black. But I will say, because we were hand selected to be at this campus, I will say all the administrators do treat everybody the same. So now I don't have that same experience coming from one school, being under a certain person versus now. So it's definitely something I think, teachers of color have always felt that we always have to step it up higher. We always have a little notch to go a little higher than the other teachers because we just kind of work hard. Like we have to work harder at what we do. I mean, I don't know if you guys have had any experience with that. I know I have had discussion with Tamika throughout the years. I've known her since high school, middle school, right? So we've kind of discussed that. But yes, definitely been received at a different level during my years of education.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Wesley?
Well, in my experience, it's more of the selection of students and how the students are placed into the classroom. For me, it tends to be where the administrators chose to put the behavioral students, the Black and brown kids in my classroom, that they felt as though I was able to handle them better. I think that's more of a cultural thing for sure, and I know that they can definitely relate to me in my color. However, I feel as though if you feel that way, then maybe to hire more people of color, so then that way they can be more spread out across instead of sticking them all into a classroom where they feel they can be more relatable just because I'm a woman of color.
Okay. Ms. Bryant?
Yes, I'm going to piggyback off of Ms. Leslin because I was hired by a Black principal. And when I got to Stoltz, it was, as someone has put it, like a HBCU. Like we were fully loaded with teachers of color everywhere, from counselors to specialists, the front office, everybody. And when that principal left, everybody after that was white, and they hired white. And our population is what, 50% Hispanic, 45% Black. And since I've been there these 10, let's see, he left, so it's been 8 years. They don't hire us, even though the school doesn't look like them. They do not hire us. It is now, we went from being fully staffed with individuals of color to where I'm now 1 out of 6, and that's out of 60 staff members. But the population does not reflect that, and that came from the changes in the principals. And,
Right.
So.
Okay.
Well, no, and I want to add to that too, that even across an administration world as well, when it came in Richmond ISD, a lot of the principals that were Black, that were established, they could excel in Richardson ISD, so they went by the wayside. Not only that, you notice a lot of African Americans, they put in assistant principal positions because those are the ones who deal with the behavioral students. So it's almost kind of, it looks as though it's just strategically placement to where they know that when you have someone of color and dealing with behavior with students of color, then they feel as though they can keep the behavior on the wraps. So instead of advancing these assistant principals to principal positions, they keep them in these assistant principal positions because those are the ones who handle the behavior in the schools.
Okay, so we've had someone to join her. Her name is Jessica Lucas.
Hi. Hi, I'm sorry for the tardiness. Family life, you know how that goes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Jessica Lucas. I also work for Richardson District. I'm on the elementary level, specifically in special education. In case some of you all don't know, I'm also the inclusiveness chair this year on the PTA Council Board. And I also do a lot of activism outside of the district, specifically in regards to racism and underserved communities. Laurie asked me to join to speak on behalf of I think more specifically, or at least correct me if I'm wrong, Laurie, on the point of view of a Latinx person in the workplace and what kind of racism, Latinx people face, whether that be in the district or whether that be in a career place or in other areas. So I'm so glad to see all of you. And I don't know any of you. I recognize some of the names, but Danita and Tamika Bryant, so nice to see you all. In the perspective of, if you all saw that second part that I recorded in the inclusiveness chair when we had that panel, one of the biggest things that I talk a lot about is the lack of accessibility in regards to communication. So that's one of the primary struggles that people who are Latina, who identify themselves as Latinx, come across with. As you all know, the increasing number of student population who come from families who don't speak English is growing in Richardson District, specifically in the state, in the country. So in that perspective, I'm very passionate because I do see where they are left out. Sometimes I've seen it in the classrooms. I've seen it in classrooms where you have that 1 or 2 students who don't speak English, whether it's that they speak Spanish or Arabic or Vietnamese, and they're pushed to the wayside, and it's always come off as there's a lack of resources. There's a lack of resources. And I personally, and pardon the French, I call BS on that. Because Google now is it's the end all, right? It's where we go. And there's so many resources there to bridge that gap in regards to communication. There's a lack of effort in the classroom and in the administration level, even in the district level, in making sure that we are bridging that gap with those families in that regard. And I think, I hope that we're steering away from that because conversations have become, you know, they've become to the forefront when we talk about racism, when we talk about the not providing that inclusiveness, not providing that equitable education. But there's a lot of work to be done. I've seen that happen. I've seen it also where our community doesn't feel comfortable to come in and talk to anybody in the school if they don't see that they're represented in the front office.
Right.
I know for me specifically in my position, I'm the to-go person. Anybody who will tell you who's worked with me, I'm the to-go person of, oh, go call Jessica, she speaks Spanish. Oh, call Jen. I could be in the middle of doing my job and they will go and take me to the front to speak to a family who, and I, you know, again, we can go back and say that there's a lack of resources, but I also think there's a lack of effort to make sure that we are showing that representation in all areas of the school, so that there's not that situation, you know, and so that a family does feel accepted and included. I
Okay.
hear that a lot. I hear that a lot in my families, that they don't feel like they're being heard or that they're pushed aside because they don't speak English, because they're from another culture, you know, and then there's always, you know, so I also work a lot with families who, you know, for those of us who work in the district, about 2 years ago, we had an influx of students who are refugees from, you know, different parts of Syria and what have you. And that's another topic that we don't address because there's a lot of those families that they come to this country, they don't know any English, they don't necessarily have any family here. There's a lack of resources and there's a lack of understanding on their culture as well, you know, and so that's my two piece on that part, and that communication is huge, and I do think that it's directly linked to implicit bias, directly linked to racism for some people, and that we don't pay them any mind. We don't, let's not worry about them. They can't communicate their grievances, so let's not worry about them. And at least that's the attitude that I have seen throughout the years. I can tell you, speaking for myself, I recently had this question because of serving on that panel that the district had with our RASD council PTAs. The reference of person of color, apparently somebody had made a question on, they felt offended being a Hispanic or Latino being called person of color. So then I was, and I'm bringing this up because I think it's a really good topic, and how we need to be more connected and understand that Black and Brown communities go hand in hand in regards to the struggles that we're facing right now. But she expressed the dislike in that was being referenced person of color. So I was asked, and I said, well, here's the thing. Just based on my personal experience, what my culture, what, you know, my raíz, my raza is what we call it, express, person of color right now is directly correlated with African American. So there are some people, there are some Latinx people that when they're referred to, they're like thrown off because they're like, I'm not an African American, I'm Hispanic, I'm Mexicano, I'm Colombiano, whatever it is, right? And I tell, this is the explanation I always have to give. I say, but you are a person of color in the United States of America.
Right.
You are. The correlation, we need to really work on making that connection also with our community, with our Latinx community, so that they understand and so that they are more accepting of the fact that in the United States of America, you are a person of color. And yes, we all are individually, you know, our ancestry, our culture, our, you know, there's those differences. But what connects us all is that we are people of color, you know. And I was telling this person, it's a very good conversation to bring up and to discuss more and to help empower those who don't understand it. Because, for instance, in my case, I am Mexicana. I'm a first generation. My parents do not come from the United States of America. You would not be able to tell that if you judged me solely by by my skin color, right? But because in the United States, that is how I'm viewed. When somebody does get to know a little more beneath the surface, then and I've seen that happen a lot in all kinds of different careers that I have been in. It's like a light switch, like something changes as soon as they find out that my ancestry is different, or that, you know, my family was not from the United States of America.
Right.
The way they treat me is different. It's
Exactly.
very different.
So we're going to circle back to how that affects all the teachers in their everyday teaching. But we have someone that joined us, and it's Nicolette Daughtry.
Darty.
Daughtry.
Darty.
Okay. And so the initial question was, how are you perceived by your white counterparts, your white coworkers at work? And are you given the support from your administrators in your school? And do you feel that you have to perform harder than your coworkers? And so let's, I want to go to Ms. Nicadria, and then we'll circle back to you, Nicolette, okay?
And definitely in my experience, having a white principal, they respect, and this is the thing that bothers me as a teacher of color, they respect what I do in the classroom. I mean, because, you know, I'm naturally just a teacher. But when it comes to respecting me as a person, they fall short. It's number one is that I do have to, of course, work harder to prove myself constantly. And they see the work in the classroom, but it's not enough. You know, they're constantly saying, well, you don't do this and you don't do that. And which they don't have a clue because they're never in my classroom or anything like that. But I'm constantly working harder to prove myself. And I feel like as though I shouldn't have to, you know, and then that's with my colleagues as well, because if your administrators is saying that, of course, your counterparts think they can speak to you any kind of way and say anything, you know, they want about you. And that's just what I've experienced. What's been hard for me to not be that angry Black person, like they always say in the field when we just speak our mind, or I don't like your tone. And we've said the exact same thing as our white counterpart, but it's perceived differently. And so that's just what I've dealt with just in my experience in education.
Nicolette?
I totally agree. I've definitely had that experience, especially, you know, with my last, before coming to my current school, with my last school, you know, I've definitely experienced where, you know, in the classroom, yeah, like, you're doing great, you're doing awesome. And then outside of that, though, they'll praise my white counterpart, though. That's maybe doing the bare minimum of the work. And here you're praising me here when I'm in the classroom, but outside of that, I'm getting a whole different type of feedback from what you were giving me when you did your walkthrough. And so for me as a Black woman, it definitely for me, my confidence is like, well, am I a good teacher then? Do you really see me as a good teacher? And so personally for me, I definitely see that, especially with my current school now, with my current coworker, Tamika Bryant, you know, seeing that as well, being in a team of Black teachers, I definitely saw that fine line. I've been seeing it a lot more lately, especially in recent months, of just like, okay, we have this team and it's separated from that team, and it just, I feel a shift. I felt that shift. So that's just my personal intake from it.
Michelle?
I kind of just want to piggyback off of what the teacher said earlier. Even though you guys are teachers and you do your job and you do wonderfully at it, I'm an aide. So I have it 2 times harder, where I'm an aide. I mean, even though I've been I've been blessed to work inside some good classrooms and have good coworkers. But outside of the classroom, it's just like she's an aide, you know, and then an aide and a woman of color. So it's kind of like I have to fight triple times harder because it's like you're not paid, you're paid, yeah, your salary, but you're hourly too. You can go at any time. You're not on a contract. So if you don't perform at a certain level or do what you need to do, that's asked before you, because as it says on your job description, you can do whatever deemed by your supervisor that you are supposed to do because you are an aide. And so it's kind of like, yeah, you have it on your back, but also you're like, okay, I still want to be treated respectfully. I still want to be, I'm human just like you are. And so I do feel at another campus that I was on, I felt like I didn't belong. Like I had to make my way, and I saw the shift because at one school, it was a lot of women of color that was an administrative and as teachers and support staff and everything like that. It was like an even flow. But as soon as that administrator left and switched and went to a white campus, it just spread it like wildfires, and then like a wildfire, and then it just went down. And then you could see the morale go down. And you could see where, like, you know, where it came to a point to where, you know, you had behavior issues, and if you couldn't find that assistant principal, or you couldn't find that teacher that handled the children that gave problems in the classroom, they found the aide that would babysit them until they got it together. So I totally, just as my standpoint from me being there, I see that I have to work not as, like I said, as an aide, as a woman of color. I have to work triple times harder to make sure that I secure and pass my eval to even stay in the district.
Okay. I hear you all just across the board from different classrooms, different schools, saying the exact same thing. So my question to you is, do you feel if you do assert yourself with your administrator to say, hey, you said Miss Smith is doing this, but I noticed that Miss Smith does not do this. What's the difference between our teaching style? And if you do assert yourself, do you have a fear of retaliation behind it? Okay, Ms. Lee. I'm sorry.
When I was at my other school, that is exactly what happens. So I address the issue, then that's when the hardships and her whole demeanor changes. But on the other hand, I will say that being educated and knowing the laws and things like that, she knew not to kind of step like boundaries with me. So she knew her place. I knew my place. I guess you could say it that way. But I will say, once I did bring up an issue that she was clearly in, that's when I knew everything changed. Everything changed. And that is something that even when I went over to new campus, I brought that issue up because it was actually during my interview, I just wanted to know if, like, how is it that you will address if that came up? And it was so much more relaxing. It was almost as if my administrator of color, she knew exactly how I felt because she had also had that happen to her. So she knew already how to take that stance. So it's interesting that you asked that. It's almost like if I say it, like, I can't remember the other Tamika Bryan. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, girl. Yeah, but it's like, I'm sorry. You say it, and coming from us, because they have viewed us as the angry Black woman. If we say something to speak up for ourselves, the same white teacher can say the same thing. And I've had the cases where Hispanic teachers as well, they will say the exact same thing or have the same problem, but yet it's coming from Renda Lee because I am of color, I'm Black, then it's more attitude. And that wasn't the case. I just knew what was wrong. I did my research. I was able to bring it to the table. And clearly she didn't like that because I wasn't staying in my place. So, yeah.
Nicadria, you wanted to say something on that?
I was gonna say the exact same thing. I mean, it's like they go in attack mode, and and what's been so hard for me this year in the school I am, my principal is Black, but she has a white mindset. So it's kind of like I'm constantly being attacked as well. I don't know if y'all have read this book. A couple of white teachers at my school, we got together and read White Fragility, which is a great book, I think, of, just for all people, because we definitely have to change the racism in education. But, she made the point, which she is a white lady, how white women tears just fall. And then you look like they're the victim now. Like the problem is overlooked because there's tears. And so that's what I've had. And that's just, it's been tough. I mean, it's hard to like, okay, calm down. You have to kind of calm down before you move on. And, you have to kind of step out and come back in. But yeah, I've experienced the same thing. And those white woman tears always get you off the situation. And it's totally looked over and nothing's ever done about it. It's the issue's never addressed. And so I definitely want that to change. And my goal this year is just to be more assertive about that regardless. It's like that has to change, especially for our students and teacher of color. So.
Anyone else want to address that question? Michelle?
Yes, ma'am. Like you said, Ms. Lee, when I was at another campus, I went to my administrator and told her some issues that I had from previous years about some things that I didn't feel right that was with my schedule. And when I addressed it and, I did the proper protocol and did what was, the steps of the ladder, and I had a target on my back. Like, I was just like, it was just like, okay, watch her. She don't do this, write it down on her paper. She don't do this, write it down in her paper. And it was to the point that where I'm like, I got to smile and bear it, because if I don't, then if I try to transfer and go somewhere else, I'm going to be shut down, because you're not going to let me be transferable to another school if I apply. So it was kind of like, okay, I just have to smile and bear it and just hold it in and do what I need to do and just make it through the year. It wasn't a good year, but then after they saw that I wasn't the only one and saw that it was a reoccurring thing, then it was kind of like, okay, well now, Michelle, come in and now you tell us what you think. Well, wasn't my voice good enough when I came to you the first time and told you what was going on? When I said, okay, I'm just not making this stuff up, like for real, like, are you going to just leave me out here? And that's where I felt like I didn't have any support. And then I felt like, okay, do I need to go be this, like you said, this angry Black woman for you to understand what I'm talking about? Do I need to just fall out, cry, record her, or tape her, or do what I need to do for you to hear what I'm saying? But then, like I said, and then when it happened to my white counterparts and the same exact thing happened, it was just like you said, the tears started falling and we were having a nervous breakdown and we couldn't come to work, and let Michelle just handle all the classes and do what she needs to do, because it's on your contract. Deem whatever I deem necessary for you to do. But it was. And I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, Ms. Lee. It's a target on your back.
So with what you guys were saying, not that only teachers of color need this, because I'm quite sure all teachers are under some level of stress, but as teachers of color, you're under a different type of stress. You all are experiencing like an anxiety of just trying to do your job. I mean, how do you, first let me applaud you. Let me start there. But how do you feel going into work knowing that your anxiety level, no matter what you may do, but your anxiety level at some point will start to interfere with your work? And then that level of anxiety that's interfering with your work now may jeopardize your work. So how do you deal with that? Because I'm a proponent for social and emotional wellness. I don't care who you are, teacher, student, administrator. I'm a proponent for that, and I think all districts should provide that type of support. And I'm not talking about EAP either. If we have some administrators listen, I am not talking about EAP. I'm not talking about those 3 free counseling visits. I'm talking about ongoing social and emotional support. Is that something that you guys could benefit from, Ms. Westland?
Well, I know for me, lots of times in Richardson ISD, I felt like George Floyd. I felt like they were literally on my neck when it came to certain situations, because once I spoke up on something, I became insubordinate and I got written up. However, my counterparts did the exact same thing. That wasn't the case. Like this young lady was saying, Ms. Nicole, that they would, shed their tears, do all of that, and then it would find its way back to where they weren't being insubordinate. But when I spoke up, it was, oh, she's aggressive. She's not listening to her admin. Okay, so we need to write her up and put this into her file so that we can show her that who's the boss here. So it got to the point for me where I was like, since I got, they got their knee in my neck, let me just be quiet and not say nothing. To the point to where it got so stressed out to where I felt as though I didn't even have a place there no more.
Wow. And that's a lot to do with teachers leaving districts. They're not comfortable there anymore mentally. They're just not there anymore. And it's sad that, teachers have to endure that, because what your guys are saying, if I speak up, my promotions may be hindered because I speak up. I might not be able to get to the next level if I speak up. So I just have to cower in the corner and take it. And then hopefully, maybe I can get a promotion. So you have to, and it's amazing that you all are saying this, that you have to seriously weigh your options. Do I continue to let you run over me, mistreat me, invalue me, just so I can get a promotion, and then get the promotion and it be just as hard? Miss Bryant, you're just twitching in your seat. What's you got?
I mean, I agree. I mean, the social emotional, we do have to do that out. I mean, I just kind of work out, get that on the outside. But, despite what I go through with administrators, the kids drive me. I shut my door because I know they need me. If I'm fighting hard now, I'm working for their future so they won't have to fight and do what I'm doing in my workplace, So that's the one thing that keeps me going. Like, you can't take my skills away. You can't take the love I have for teaching, and you cannot take me helping these kids understand that the sky is the limit. So honestly, out of the midst of all of it, that's what drives me to work every single day. I mean, do I like going and looking at them? No, not at all. But the kids bring me joy, and they need us just as much. I mean, it's, statistics is 82% of teachers are white. We have to be there for our students of color. Whether it's a limited number in the building, we have to fight for them, all of them, every child in the building. So that's, and you were preaching, girl. I mean, you go.
Okay, Ms. Lucas.
Well, what I wanted to say is I think we're louder in numbers. I know that it's been, in my experience in both the district and outside of the district, aligning myself with other people who have seen those microaggressions in our classrooms, in administration, what have you. It's worked to our benefit when we have worked together and presented this grievance. And it actually happened about 2 years ago, where we had to present a grievance, and it was several of us. It was several of us that did this, because it was just constant, And I think that also helps us in that emotional, social emotional part as well, because sometimes in certain situations you straight up feel alone, and you feel, I mean, you get to the point where you don't even want to get out of the car and walk in the building, you know. And so you know, having that, those strong relationship with others in the campus, or even outside of the campus, to be able to help us and continue us growing and empowering our voice, because I am a big proponent of that, as all of you are, because you're all here, you know, and talking about this very emotionally charged issue that we have and that is spilling into our schools. Something that Angie Lee said in the panel the other day that just like hit home was that our schools are representative of society, right? And the sense that what all of these students are coming in and bringing is what they are learning from home, and what they see what's going on in the school. I mean, we underestimate the kiddos sometimes. They soak up so much more than what we give them credit for sometimes, you know, and they see how there's differences between, you know, people of color and those who are not. And I would hate for any of those kiddos to go back home and grow up and become an adult and think that that's the norm. So I think that's also part of my drive and why, you know, regardless of sometimes of how one feels about the situation, you just want to throw in the, you know, bleepity bleep towel. You still go back in, and you still go back in because you know there's all of these kids, like how the young lady that the second Tamika Brackett, I don't know her name, but that said, you know, that's the drive why you keep going back to work, is for the kiddos, and to show them that, you know, you're not going to give up, you're not going to allow this behavior to continue, nor are you going to allow it to continue for them, so that when they grow up and become adults, they're empowered with that voice to keep bringing this to the forefront. You know, something that I keep on telling a lot of people is that you might think that racism is right now trending because of what happened in Georgia Park, but a person of color will tell you different. They will tell you, no, this is always there. This is the microaggressions that everybody goes through at the store, or when they get pulled over, or when they are in a school, when they're in the work, I mean, it is always there, you know? So this is not something that's just trending. It's always there. So I commend all of you. I want to say it as well, for taking that step further and continuing this discussion, because it needs to continue. There needs to be longevity, and we need to be there for our kids, so they know, you know, that someone's in their corner as well.
Thank you, Jessica. I have two questions for you guys, but let me ask my first question. How can the PTA, your white teachers, and your parents, and your administrators, yes, your administrators, how can they be your allies? Or is it even possible for some of these groups to be your allies?
Well, Danita, let me answer the PTA, because I know that this is my second year as the inclusiveness chair on the council board. I'm gonna be very honest with all of you and all of those who are watching. I did not know that the PTA had inclusiveness chair until it came down. Yeah, I did not. And it's not to say anything to the people, but it's also to say that how we need to improve. We need to improve as far as our conversations need to be intentional, even on the PTA, in the PTA stance, because I always consider PTA to be that bridge between the school itself and the community. You know, it's all about family engagement. And in order for our families to continue having that voice, they need to be given the platform, or they're forcibly going to get the platform, right? You know, they need to be given, and PTA is such a huge family of platform. And first and foremost, it's an advocacy group. And what better way to advocate for all those families and to make sure that they are included in a school than through PTA, right? And it's beyond just having those multicultural nights. It's making sure that you have a person in that local unit that is being intentional in making sure that every single family has a voice, and that when we have events, whether it be the communication that goes out, whether it be the specific event that the school is putting on, that they're considering every single family. So I know that in my part, in regards to the council and what we're trying to do, or what, you know, what we will be pushing really hard this year, is making sure that there is that person in every single school, not just in the schools that have the majority person, you know, students of color. Every single school has to have a person that does that, because it's a check and balance system. You know, there are some people that they don't recognize they have implicit bias, and they don't see and recognize that by putting on this certain event and phrasing it this certain way, they're being exclusive. They're not including all the families. So that's where this person comes in and says, hey, yes, I'm sorry. I see her.
I just have a question, because I'm comparing, because it's only Richardson and Garland here, right?
It's Savannah.
Oh, so, I'm so sorry, Savannah. Hey, Georgia, forgive me, girl.
You got to say Savannah. I mean,
I need to put Georgia in there. I'm so, because like I'm listening to, but mainly I listen to Tamika. I'm just gonna be honest, because I have heard tons about Stoltz. Good things and bad things. I'm gonna be very honest. Some of the things that I know that I have shared with Tamika, being at the campus that I'm at, your name, Miss Danita, right?
Mm-hmm.
Danita?
Yes.
You're a strong believer in social and emotional learning, right? SEL is key at our campus. But keep in mind, it's a lot of money going into this program, right? So we have one social worker, we have two counselors, 3 administrators, and 2 SROs. Now, all of this is going in to this particular pilot program, and the teachers do get paid more. I will say that, because our days are extended, and we're contracted out more days. But the one thing I will say, when I started this program, I was completely floored at how much of the social and emotional was so important for staff. Mm-hmm. Even our administrators. We do a program, I'm not sure that you guys have heard of it, but it's restorative practices. Have you guys heard of restorative practices? Yeah. We implemented that. That was our huge big pull. Not only were we to do it with our students, but the principals had to do it with our staff. It was not a dry eye, a circle. So it's more like I'm asking, are your administrators able to be that vulnerable? If they're not able to be that emotional and that vulnerable with their staff, it obviously starts from above, right? Right. And you know, that I know Tamika has been having, that right there is so much social and emotional breakdown relationships from that particular administrator with her staff. And until she's able to connect those two, nothing is ever going to happen. And that goes out, you know, as far as the learning environment, that goes out to what the young lady was talking about just now, as far as community. But we do circles with parents. With, you know, the parents come in on TV, like we do that. We have a problem with the student, and we have a very, you know, angry parent, or I think we do this right. We take time out of our day. If that means we got to come back up there at 7 or 7:30 at night and do a restorative circle, our whole goal is to touch on that social and emotional. If nobody on that campus is going to be socially and emotionally connected and vulnerable, then the whole staff is just broken down. So I'm with you, Miss Danita, when you say, if you don't, and that's the same thing with our kids, regardless if, you know, you can have these white teachers who can have these same black kids who are always put into my class, just like Miss Angel said, always put into our class. If they just know how to relate and have that social and emotional connection with any child, whether Latina, Vietnamese, black, white, if they can find that, and that's what I'm so nervous about going into this school year. And that's where the training needs to come in. So that's where a lot of our campus has been zoned. So all this week, I go back next week, and I've been telling Tamika already, we're looking at ways and trainings of our white, Black, Hispanic, Vietnamese teachers. What are we going to do to talk about the social injustices that are happening outside of our campus? Because if we don't address those, our babies are already behind. They are going to be, they're going to become even lower, and we're just going to lose all the work that we've done. So, I mean, we've made tremendous growth, but it's only because we touched with those families. We became family with those families, and most campuses will not do that. And that's where training needs to come in at, right?
Right.
So,
Tamika, stop twitching your seat.
Tamika, go ahead, girl. Please talk. I'm so sorry because she didn't want to talk for the last 20 minutes, y'all.
Girl, I'm like, I could unload right now, but I'm not going to do that. I will most definitely say it starts at the top with your admin. If the wrong admin is in the building, there's no hope for your school. And I don't think Richardson understands that. And they keep putting the wrong people in these places. And at this point, retaliation or not, I'm tired. So I'm going to speak the truth. Wrong. It's the wrong people. And so then you have them hiring people who think like them, that do not even that they can't relate to the kids. They don't want to relate to these kids.
Right.
They want to keep their stereotypes and their biases. They want to keep their prejudice, and they want to say, well, those kids can't learn. No, they can't learn because of you. And that's social emotional learning, yes, but you have to have people that want to know, want to connect, want to build a relationship with these kids. And all they keep talking about is, I can't wait to leave. They're so low. They'll never do this or that. This is what you hear. No, that kid's not going to learn from you, because just like she said, kids are so smart. They feel your energy. You want to know why they act up in your class and not somebody else's class? It's because of that teacher. It's because of the lack of that relationship. Yeah, we can get the behavioral kids because I may get onto you, and I will. But then when I see them in the hallway, I'm going to speak to them. I'm going to ask them, how's their day? Is this going to be a good day? I make sure I know their name. I drop in and I see them. We didn't only discipline kids, but we also got to know kids. And so then by the time, in 6th grade, if I start with Nicadria, when she was teaching kinder, I went to her classroom. I went to Jackson's classroom, 1st grade and 3rd grade. I made sure I knew all these kids. By the time they got to me, it was easy. The relationships were there, but that social emotional learning, they want to pick up the check. They want to say, I worked here at this Title I school, and they want to go home.
How is your superintendent? How's your superintendent? I don't know him or her. Y'all don't either. Okay.
That's a work in progress. That's
okay.
A work in progress.
If I can, Danita, you talked about what can the administrators do, what can teachers do, what can the superintendent, what can they do? At the end of the day, I feel as though when you're looking at the grand scheme of things, it boils down to money. And the district tends to follow where the money is. And the money is where those white schools are. And when it comes down to getting the resources that these kids need, when it comes down to getting the light bulbs, paper towels, and everything that we need in our schools, we are the last ones to get anything because they want to make sure that the money is good. When they feel as though the money is good, we go by the wayside. And I've never known a school PTA to be ran by teachers. Just because of the lack of resources and people behind a school that we don't even have a PTA. There's no reason for 5 minutes up the road for a school to have a PTA overflowing with hundreds of parents and we don't have not a PTA. That's a lack of, we talk about a community. When we talk about a school district, that is a community. And how is it you run the community when you got a breakdown in two different schools across the street from one another? That's not a community. So what you're doing is, you say you have a school district? No, my dear, you running two different separate school districts. Because it's not the same. It's not one and the same. It's never been one and the same. And when they come to realization that it needs to be one and the same, then that's when things will excel, because that it has not been one and the same. Because when you start rolling out the stuff that the Title I schools need, and we the last ones to get it, that shows you right there that you don't care about these social economic students and what they need to be getting. So then that way they don't have to become an ACE campus. You're not worried about that. You're worried about making sure the people who give you the money is getting what they need first. So when it comes to what we can do, first it starts up there with, like she was mentioning, the superintendent. And the superintendent, I can't voice too much on that one. I just say that when it comes to it starts with the superintendent, that's the top. And it starts there at the top for her.
Hey, Angel, did you see her comment right here? Is it Mrs. Manders?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So I know at our PTA at Berkner, our schools that don't have PTA, we adopt them if they're in our feeder pattern. So come Teacher Appreciation Week, we take care of that school that's in our feeder pattern that doesn't have a PTA. We take care of them. My son's, his elementary school, they didn't have a PTA. I took it upon myself, Parent Teacher Week, I took them donuts. I took them donuts for that week, enough for all of them, and juice, just to say, hey, you know, you do matter. It doesn't matter that you don't have PTA. You're there. But I think as far as PTA, I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of, like our high school, Berkman. We have a lot of working parents. We have a lot of parents that are Hispanic. We have a lot of parents that can't get there. But if you tell them, hey, join PTA, this, that, and the other, we don't have any, oh no, I don't want to do that. But you have to be welcoming, you have to be inviting, and we're out there. I don't care what event is happening, what's going on, we're there. A lot of my kids' friends think I work at the school because I'm at the school so much, but I'm at the school so much because I'm part of the PTA, and I want the students to know we're there for you. We're there for the teachers. I have a standing monthly meeting with the principal, and she and I talk. What is needed? What's missing? This is what, and my junior son, he was part of our PTA, and he said he and 3 other students, one from each grade, they sat with the principal, and I kid you not, he said, well, what she asked them, what do you all want to do differently that's not working for you all? And you know what they said? Take the chairs away from the pep rally. If you all want us to be engaged, take the chairs away from the pep rally. Guess what? She took the chairs away from the pep rally, and the pep rally was a pep rally. And when he came home, he said, you know, Ms. Cage took the chairs away, and we had to participate. Students need to know that they're being heard, just like teachers need to know that they're being heard. And I think with this type of roundtable talking, you will be heard. And I think it's something that's continual. I think each feeder pattern needs to have, I'm all for roundtable, because that's how you get to the root of issues. That's how you get to the root of problems. You have to tell what your problems are on your campus. You cannot no longer allow people to go home from work and feel defeated because they are not being heard. And we have to hear our teachers. We have to know that, hey, my white counterparts don't respect me. And I need you to know that my white counterparts don't respect me. And it needs to be, like we discussed here, a brave space. to say, you don't respect me, and this is why I say you don't respect me. And they need to be receiving of that to say, oh, I didn't look at it this way. I'm gonna do better, and vice versa. And I think if we all were to get comfortable with our truth, you all wouldn't feel the way that you feel when you go to work. You wouldn't feel that you have to be quiet about what you are going through. You will feel comfort in knowing, let me talk to my administrator. Let me go up here and tell Ms. Smith that she can't talk to John like this if she wants him to be engaged in the classroom. Let me just tell her how she needs to address John and not take offense to me trying to tell you. I'm not trying to tell you how to teach. I'm just trying to tell you how to approach a child. Because John is of color and you're not. And the way you're trying to approach him, that's not going to work. And so maybe, you know, I'm like this. Maybe white teachers need to sit in on black teachers' classes.
Something that we did, we addressed that from the very beginning at the campus where we're at, and we actually role played. Like we role played so that we role played. Well, first of all, because we were already vulnerable, y'all, those little white teachers felt comfortable to allow us to talk to them. Does that make sense? It wasn't like they were taking everything to offense but it's because that wall of vulnerability was down. So I really think that several trainings need to be on that first, because the trust has to be there. Then it's with the staff, then it's with the community, right? But we actually role played racial sensitivity training because we knew that it was going to come. We knew that we had the white teachers. I know that, so out of my 3 admin, it was 2 black women, and then 1 Hispanic lady. The Hispanic lady went and got, she was assistant principal. She went and got a principal's job. So now it's a Hispanic man. So we still have people of color, but that doesn't mean that we think less of our white teachers. And we made that very known. So there was no, we just trying to hide anything. All my little white teachers, now when the George Floyd thing came along and I was posting some things on Facebook, right, Tamika? I had my old campus teachers reaching out to me. But the campus that I'm at now, where we have built that bond and they know that if they come to me, they can ask me anything. Nothing is off limits when it comes to race. But I had to set that up for them. That was me as a black person. I had to know, even I had to research how to make them feel comfortable enough to even address it. Because guess what? They're not going to do it. Because if that's the case, all this racial injustice would have been done a long time ago. Their egos are not going to let them do it too, y'all. Let's just be honest, okay? So, we talk. You asked the question earlier. I think people of color, doesn't matter if we are, basically, if you're not white, you have learned to be resilient in this world. Our parents raised us different. We are talked to differently. And it's just something that we know we have to do. And it got to the point where I get where, you all are tired. I understand that. But I had to do my research. I had to figure out a way, how can I make every white person that walks up to me feel comfortable enough to actually say something to me? Because if not, all other campus teachers, they were like, I'm so sorry for what's going on and blah, blah, versus my other teachers at the campus I'm at now. What can I do? Because I have black students in my class and I'm coming back to this. And she was honest. She goes, I'm scared as hell. I don't want this mama getting on to me. I don't want this mama think every time I say something to her, it's going to be a problem. So we talked about that, but that's because that vulnerability and that admin at y'all's, Tamika, I'm at to pray. I'm at to pray. Because, yeah.
Ms. Lee, you said some great things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you said some great things, and I agree. That number one, I had that restorative training that I use, and it's the best because the purpose of the restorative training is never to break a relationship. Like you're always fixing it, right? And, you know, we've all said great things that we can turn into action because we think about it, it comes from the top, right? And even Jessica said the communication. We have to be better with communication in education. We have to welcome in our parents and let them know that we're all in this together. If we continue to isolate, okay, then we're going to continue to have that same cycle. So then it comes to that restorative practice. The thing is, our white teachers, you know, and we hear this in schools, 18 years, build relationships, but they don't understand how to build a relationship.
They have no idea.
And that restorative practice training is the best. But until you understand how to truly build a relationship, it's going to fall short all the time. And our children of color will always suffer. And like I was telling you guys, I was in the book study of White Fragility with some white teachers. I didn't need to read the book, but I think it's important because it helps them see the biases, because Jessica even talked about earlier that if our administrators, white administrators, do not understand their own personal biases, and so does white teachers, our children of color will not thrive in the school system. Like, because it's that underlying biases that they don't understand that's coming into the classroom that's affecting how they're treating the kids, and our kids are getting the same learning. There's no equity at all. And so, like, all of these are great. Communication needs to be better. Restorative practice needs to be all through education so we can understand how to build relationships. And just white teachers, administrators need to understand their own biases so they can help people of color, and we can move past and see the longevity in this process. So,
And not just to help the students, but help the teachers as well. Because if the administrators, you all superiors understand their own implicit bias, you won't be the angry Black woman. If they can see their own implicit bias, when you come to them and say something, oh, she's not the angry Black woman, she actually has a valid point. And we can go past that. Because I personally, as a parent, I have to catch myself before I contact a white teacher, because I don't want to come off as the angry Black mom. And my kids will tell me, Mom, calm down. You know what they're going to say. Because I have to take a step back. I have to wait a day to respond to foolery, because I know if I respond in that moment for what they sent me the email for, it's going to come off as the angry Black parent. And I have a relationship with the school. I don't want to disrupt it because it's for the betterment of the teachers and the students. But at the same token, I want to make sure that they understand this didn't really need an email. You know, this is not what you're trying to make it out to. And then you have that, as my mom used to say, Nita, it's a teachable moment. And then they go, oh, okay. Because, you know, we have to have that dialogue. We have to be able to talk to each other, but you also have to be able to listen.
Yes.
And if you're talking, you're not listening. Michelle?
I agree with that, because I'm on both sides of the fence. Like, I have a student that went through the district that just graduated, and I worked for the district. So I had to kind of be like, okay, why are you sending me this email? You know, if she's there, look, from 7 to 3, I'm an employee at Richardson. You have her as your student. If it's something you need to email me about that's pertaining to, you know, grades or behavior or something like that, address her. If it's something as a parent that I need to be informed about, let me know. But it was just little teeny stuff that didn't matter. And then when you email me and I'm like responding, and it's not the response that you want, I'm like, okay, so I got to figure out which battle you want me to fight, because I want to talk to you in a sensible way. I mean, I'm talking to you just like you're talking to me. But if we're gonna have this dialogue, or we're gonna talk to me about something that matters, like something that's really like something that's hurting you, your teaching ability. And that was my biggest gripe or my downfall with, is because it just irritated me because it was just little things that didn't matter to a hill of beans. And like I said, I couldn't respond like, okay, is this of importance? Is it something that's life or death? Is it going to value her GPA or her grades or something like that? But then also, I work for the district. So, you know, you kind of don't want to be like, okay, look, she's an angry Black woman. She's always got something to say. She's always on a bad side. She's always mean. But at the same time, I'm respecting you as a teacher to do what you need to do in your classroom, because if you're teaching my child, I already feel like you have a bond with them. You already have a connection with them. You already have rapport with them. So if it comes to a point to where they're disrupting your class and you feel like it's being effective as a teacher, I get that. Please let me know. But on the other hand, if you're going to send me an email that's going to be demeaning or demising or just making my child seem like they are just a child from God knows where, then you're not going to get the response that you want to get. But I'm just saying, as a parent, you have to realize that we want the best interest of our child and we want the best education for our child, but don't have a label on the child because of who she is or who our parent is or what she's going through, because at the end of the day, you're there to teach them. You're there to be a motivator. You're there to instill in them so they'll be ready for college, for life, and whatever else goes on in the world. But at the same time, don't always look down on them and say, okay, they can't do this. I know they can't do that. They're disruptive in this class, so they're going to be disruptive in this class. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Just be who you signed up to be. Was to be a caring. You signed up to teach. You signed up to be a motivator and to motivate these children, to teach these children, to love these children, to encourage them. Be that and more. Because you never know what those kids go through at home. But when they come in their classroom, make them feel like they're special. Make them feel like they're wanted. Have that connection with them.
So I have a question for all of you, and we can take turns answering. We can go from top to bottom. So this is my fantasy question. If you had a magic wand and you were only able to grant your school one wish to make it better, and that's from top down, what would your one wish be? Nicolette?
I think collectively, hopefully we can read this, listen. If I could wave a magic wand, have your ears open, have your eyes open, and listen. Listen to your Black and brown teachers, coworkers, employees. Listen to their outcries. Listen to what they see, and then go from there. You may not have to agree with it, but at least you heard what we're saying. You at least know where we're coming from, and then take it from there. Listen.
Angel, you have a magic wand, and you're gonna wave it in Savannah, Georgia, and you have one wish to make Savannah, Georgia.
I guess my thing would just be I'm big on vulnerability. I just feel as though if everyone's vulnerable enough to take in anything, then we can change a lot. A lot of people just aren't vulnerable enough to understand that everybody has a different perspective, everybody has a different view, but just be understanding of it and just be vulnerable enough to say, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Let's see how we can fix it, how we can move past it, and just be vulnerable to everyone's stance. You don't have to agree, but just like Nicolette was saying, just be vulnerable enough to just listen.
Miss Lee, Miss Lee, you have one wish with this wand, just one. What you gonna do with this one wish with this wand? What are you gonna do?
just that all administrators are able to get some type of, well, everybody is able to get some type of racial sensitivity training, a legitimate, not something that's just made up and they just trying to throw because it's the cheapest. Funding, funding for training for racial sensitivity, like honestly, for all the districts, it would be amazing. So, yeah.
Tamika, I'm gonna do you like I did Miss Lee. You have a one and you have one wish.
Mhm.
Now you might make a compound wish.
Thank you. Mine would be for equality, where not just you say all means all, but you show it with your actions, where the money is, who you visit, how you hire, how you promote, how you treat kids, what campuses you come to see. I want equality. I want it to be equal, equitable, to where we don't have all these, that school over there compared to this school over there. There's got to be if you actually want there to be equality, there's got to be some unity. All has got to really mean all, and not just those that I favor, or all meaning some, or those that I like, or those that look like me. It needs to, I want equality. I want it.
Right. Nikadra?
Are you sure I can't have two
No,
wishes?
you got one.
Positive,
Do you
positive?
like,
Okay.
but do you like Tamika? You can have a compound wish.
I'm gonna have to go with vulnerability, like Mary. It's just because when you're vulnerable, you will listen, you're open. And enough of our administrators are not vulnerable, so our teachers are not. So we don't even accept feedback from each other enough to even help each other be successful on the campus. So I'm gonna go with vulnerability because I feel like the listening will work, then we can get equality. So I got all of them in one. Okay, there we go.
Right.
Vulnerability.
Michelle?
I guess my one thing would be, let me know that I matter. Let me know that I'm important to your campus. Let me know that I'm needed. Let me know that I'm valued here, that I have a place here. Make me feel like I matter. That would be my one wish.
And let me add some context to that for those that are listening. She's not talking about certificates that say she matters. You know, she's just talking about some general just acknowledgments. Hey, Michelle, you know, that was good what you did with the arts project. Hey, Michelle, that was some real nice thinking outside the box. She's not talking about, you know, here's a keychain, well done. You know, she's talking about something outward that you're doing amongst her coworkers. So her coworkers can see that she's valued. Because if your administrators are value you, your coworkers gonna value you too. If your administrators don't show value to you, neither will your coworkers. And one wish, Ms. Lucas.
I'm with everybody. Can I just say all of them in one? It's hard. I'm gonna say advocacy. I'm gonna say advocacy because that right now is the only word that is ringing so loud in my head right now. Because I feel that there is such a big fear of being able to advocate for yourself and for your colleagues and your students, and just in general, you know, where this fear that we have right now in losing the job, or in getting that, you know, angry Black woman, or that spicy Latina, or all those really stupid stereotypes. Because it, believe me, when I was listening to that, I was like rocking back and forth like a crazy person here, because I'm like, this is getting me so angry. And the fact that you can't answer an email without having to be labeled that way, instead of thinking like, this is just a parent who is advocating for their child. So I'm not going to go on a tangent right now because it's getting late, but I'm going to say this. I would love to be able to not have that fear to advocate for all of these things and more. So advocacy. I don't know how we would be able to purchase that or make that happen, but I want that.
Brenda, I have a question that I just saw, and so I want to see how that looks. So, Mr. Watson, he posed a question on that staff-to-staff conversation. Who would facilitate that?
Who would facilitate
The staff-to-staff conversations, the staff-to-staff, I made a suggestion that maybe the white teachers and the Black teachers, they talk,
Mhm.
who would you see that would facilitate that?
Well, we had our social worker who was on campus, and we also had our 2 counselors who actually led that up. But the administrators, all 3 administrators, were actually to be one of the people who were sitting in the hot seats, because they needed to be seen that they were just as willing to do this activity. And for our campus, it was actually it was our SEL team who actually led it up. Okay.
So I think we had you guys down for an hour. I'm so sorry it ran over. Miss Westland, I'm so sorry because it's like 10 o'clock. It's way past your bedtime.
Oh yeah, Georgia.
She's in Savannah. But I want to thank you guys for participating in this panel. And I would love for us to do it again, if not just with the same, or if you all know some others, we can even make this a larger panel to discuss, because I'm quite sure we didn't touch on half of the issues that you guys face every day. That would be awesome if we could do that.
Miss Anita?
Yes, dear.
I actually, real quickly, I had sent out a few of the questions I had opened up one email, Tamika. Remember I said I hadn't opened them all up, but I opened up one, and I don't know who asked, but I had sent those questions out to a few of my colleagues. And so if y'all want, I can email. I also had one of my parents she's a basketball mom. She's my friend. And her son is gifted, very talented, and he's in Plano ISD. And so I had got her opinion on a lot of things. So if you want, I can email you all there. I can't remember the questions. It was, I don't know, I had them somewhere, but if y'all want, I can email you all their responses, just so, because it was from our sheltered instruction teacher. It was our instructional interventionist. I had another teacher answer, and then a parent, just to get that extra feedback, if y'all just want to read over that as well, because it was some good stuff. As far, I can't remember the questions, I'm sorry, but I'll type them in later. And so if you guys can, maybe Tamika, you can shoot me their email. I don't know, were we all in the same email today that was sent out?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. If so, then I'll just shoot them to you guys that way, okay? If y'all don't mind, if y'all want to see them. Okay.
Love it. And I think, Laura, you can come back from Neverland. I think it would be great and you just gave me this idea. I don't know why I didn't think of it, or I don't know why neither one of us thought of it, that we can do this with parents of color.
Yeah. And you guys were awesome.
So,
thank you so much. And I'm send me your, you're all getting appreciation pizzas tomorrow, because Michelle, or if you don't like pizza, I'll send you something else. Michelle, I do want you to know that yes, you matter, and you all matter here. So thank you for being here. And we'll have to find you those magical wands to send.
Yes. I have someone in Georgia. My best friend lives in Georgia, Angel. So you will get your magic wand. You will get your magic wand. And she's a couponer, so it probably be for free. But thank you guys so much. I know you have probably enlightened a lot of parents, enlightened a lot of educators and administrators on that follow this page. If you don't currently follow this page, I will ask that you just like it so you can come back, because there's a lot of information that we share. And I think it would be beneficial to have a teacher perspective to it. to a lot that we posted. I posted something today that rings true with a lot of people. My son was almost disciplined because he asked the teacher to say his name. She wanted to call him something else because she couldn't pronounce it. So, you know, so that's a lot of issues that our Black kids face as well, you know. So I just, again, thank you guys so much for your time. We will have you back. And just thank you so much. And whatever the school year looks like, whether it's virtual or online or in person, thanks so much. And I know this is going to become monotonous because you're just like little boxes. But we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And thank you for all that you do. Thank you for everything that you endure to do what you love. Because to be there for 15 years and to be there for 20 years and to be there for 10 years and to be there for 1 year, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. And we're so grateful to you guys. So you guys have a good night. Angel, get some rest. I know it's late.
Black
And we appreciate you.
and let's
It's summer breaking over here, so it's good.
All right. Thank you guys so
Have a
much.
good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.